What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 movie library, literally 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn, and this week on the pod, we are dangling our precious Philip Seymour Hoffman out of a plane.
My guy!
And we are jumping from skyscrapers in Shanghai as we talk about one of my favorites out of this whole franchise,
dude.
Mission Impossible 3.
Mission Impossible is fucking back.
It's here,
Mission
man.
Impossible 3. IMF agent Ethan Hunt comes into conflict with a dangerous and sadistic arms dealer who threatens his life and his fiance in response. Ben, our mission to Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's going down. This is now our third Patreon episode. My first time seeing MI3. It's obviously not your first time because it's one of your favorites.
Love it.
I'm very, very excited to talk about this movie because after talking about Mission Impossible 2 last week, like I said, it's back. I feel so good about this movie compared to MI2, dude.
We had a little bit of a dip with MI2. Again, as we talked about last week, like it is fun. It can be fun, but it is kind of the bottom of the barrel, unfortunately. But I think that speaks to how good all these movies are. It's not to say like it's a bad movie. It's just like the rest of these are so good that like it's hard to kind of be in the same field. So I'm so excited to be talking about this movie. I was so happy to rewatch it.
A really quick refresher if you're a new patron or if you're tuning in for the first time, there are two very particular rules about this podcast that makes it different than our regular A24 feed. Rule number 1, we have a very live timer going on right now. If you're watching the video, you'll see we have 22 minutes and 10 seconds left to record this podcast. So yeah, we have a live timer. We have to do our podcast in 24 minutes. Very Mission Impossible style. So I love it. The second rule is that if we go over the timer, then there is a punishment. There is a pinwheel of punishment. It's real. It exists. And it's possible that we might have to embark on it after last week's pod. I don't know, dude. I'm nervous. I'm freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler behind the scenes here. It's like we were recording these on the same night. So we haven't heard back from people yet whether or not we ruined it. So I guess maybe stay tuned for the next episode and we'll maybe have to do the punishment that was there for Mission Impossible 2. And maybe we'll have to double up. We'll see how tonight goes. It's going to be hard for me to keep this short.
This is going to be tough.
Yeah.
This movie rules. There's so many good parts. So if we don't record it in 24 minutes, if we go over, there is a punishment, potentially eating a very hot pepper or, taking a shot of tequila, which look, I wouldn't mind. I'm sure you wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Or hate watching the Batman or scenes from the Batman. Ben, who knows? We could do all of the things.
We'll see. And we said it before, if you have any ideas for them, let us know, send them in. They can get added to the wheel. I think the more the merrier.
100% agree. Okay, let's kick off Mission Impossible 3. Let's do this thing, Ben. Released in 2006, 6 years after Mission Impossible 2, directed and written by J.J. Abrams, Michael Giacchino score, which is insane that we get 3 absolute legendary composers for 3 Mission Impossibles in a row, which is crazy. The cast, Michelle Monaghan, Ving Rhames, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Billy Crudup, Kerry Russell, Maggie Q, Simon Pegg, Lawrence Fishburne, fucking Aaron fucking Paul. Dude,
Aaron Paul,
what a cameo from this guy.
Right? Little bro just showing up and crashing the party. Like, yeah, I loved it.
God.
Again, he's another one that I obviously had no idea who he was when I saw this for the first time. So going back to watch it, I'm like, oh shit, that's like science, bitch. Like, this is great. I love it.
I texted you as soon as I got to that part in all caps, and I was like, Aaron fucking Paul. Like, he looks like a baby, and I just couldn't believe it. He's in 2 scenes. He says like 6 sentences in this movie, but canonically, I guess, I don't know. Yeah. Brother-in-law to Ethan Hunt?
I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
No, not a bad idea. No,
it's great.
I think it's great.
Okay. Mission Impossible 3.
Let's do it.
I mean, give me your thoughts first. See how much we can get out before we have to do true cinema, because we're just going to blow through this. We have a lot of good shit to cover.
We do. So you and I have been talking on the side. We do 3 films in a podcast. That's my other pod. We're kind of switching up things, and we got talking about directorial debuts. I cannot believe this is J.J. Abrams' directorial debut. I didn't realize that.
No.
Honestly, right now I'm looking at his IMDb. He did all the TV before that. He did Felicity and Lost and Alias. This is his first movie, which is crazy. Yeah, because we're going to get into 4. And that's Brad Bird's first like live action movie because he'd done all Pixar stuff before then. So it's like, it's kind of nuts, the directors they pull out of here. So this is possibly, you know, could be considered an unsung gem for a directorial debut because I think this movie doesn't get talked about enough. I love this movie. I think this let me know that I like JJ Style before I even really knew who he was because I was just like into this movie so much. We get some real stakes here. There is some like, it is weird to see him be like family man, like in the suburbs, like hosting a party and stuff. But it also gives us these cool opportunities of like, just like kind of sneaking around. Just like he goes and dumps the ice out of the freezer. He's like, oh, red ice. I gotta go get it. Like, that's smart. You like, that's a thing that you know how to do. Like, that's great. You know, that's not
does he have supersonic hearing? How did he hear their conversation in the kitchen?
I feel like they're trained to read lips. I think you're just reading their lips the whole time.
Like the secret language between him and Billy Crudup?
Yeah, because that's like they call it back later with Billy Crudup where he just like can mouth the words. It's like, and again, that's another very well done thing. It's like, let's establish this at the beginning of the movie because we're going to call it back later on.
So smart.
So they do such a good job with that. I love just like him getting drawn back in because he wants to be out. That's why he's the family man at that point. He's like, I'm done. I'll train people, but that's it. Like, I don't want to get my hands dirty.
Can't teach. As,
yes.
According to our dude.
Teach Jim. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. I love it so much. I love seeing that side of him. And then seeing like his connection to Agent Ferris, who's played by Kerry Russell, and like that gets him drawn back in. He's like, nope, I have to do this. Like this person is too important to me. And that's what draws him back in. Not to mention like fucking Philip fucking Seymour fucking Hoffman. Like, dude, the guy is like
legendary
amazing.
In this movie.
I mean, I don't know. I've talked about it before with people about like who's your favorite actor and all that kind of stuff. And he's someone that never does a bad job. Like,
no,
maybe he's not like in all great movies. I can't think of a bad one right now, to be honest, but like even fucking like Along Came Polly, he's so funny in that, you know, like he's so
oh my
good
God,
in there.
He's unhinged. The basketball scene is so good.
Yelling Rain Man and like explaining what a shart is. Like, I think I sharted. It's like, what is that? You know,
that is so funny.
And then like pretending to be the businessman. Like he's so good in that movie. And then like Boogie Nights and The Master, but seeing him just as a true
Magnolia, unreal in Magnolia. Lights
he's
out.
So good. Yeah, he's fantastic. But to see him as just like an evil person, as a bad guy, which we established in the first fucking 10 minutes, we're like, oh,
the very
he's
first
not
sentence.
messing around. Yeah, right.
It's
just one. Oh, it's so good. I love this opening scene.
He is exactly the kind of villain that makes for a very good like animosity between Ethan Hunt, because he is so lights out. Does not care. Just does not give a shit about anybody. Doesn't care about Ethan. Doesn't care about anything other than the rabbit's foot. Exactly what he wants. And every single sentence out of his mouth is to prove that he's just the worst. He's just a terrible human being. He is genuinely lights out in this movie. Like, I know last week I talked about how we focused way too much on the villains and not enough on Hunt, but like the balance struck between this. The reason that this movie does work so well is because when Philip Seymour Hoffman is on screen, it is daunting. It is absolutely devilish in relation to what Ethan Hunt stands for.
Yeah, it's true. I think like so many of these MI agents are kind of taught to be, you can't have emotion. You know, it's kind of like the line from Heat, like never have anything you can't like walk away from, like that kind of a thing. Yeah. I think it's what these Mission Impossible agents have. And it's so good in this movie to me because Philip Seymour Hoffman's the same way. Like, he doesn't necessarily have any emotion in here. You know, like Ethan Hunt's like, okay, I'll get you at the Rabbit. It's in Paris. We'll get it, whatever. He's like, it's not in Paris. Like 7, you know, he's just like, he keeps counting. It's like, just oh shit. Facts. Like, he's not being worked by Ethan's like charisma or charm or anything. Like it's straight facts. And Ethan at that point is all emotion because his wife is across from him. So it's interesting to see. This is the movie where I think he shows the most emotion. I think maybe that's why I like him so much in this. Just fantastic set pieces, like breaking into the warehouses, all the helicopter scenes. And just honestly, like probably, we can revisit this at once Said Reckoning comes out. This might be my favorite running scene in the whole franchise, when he's running down the pier and just like yelling, like, I don't know what the language is.
Out of the way. Yeah.
He's like in their language telling like, watch out, you know, just like, but it's like a 30-second straight shot of him just like running nonstop. And we're right on pace with him. Like, oh, I love this scene so much. It's so well done. So I don't know, everyone, Billy fucking Crudup, Lawrence Fishburne, like the cast here is fantastic and just speaks to, I think, for me, why I love this movie so much. It's stacked. It's JJ kind of pulling everything out for his directorial debut. It's, I think, Tom Cruise maybe being like reinvested, he's like, cool. We kind of had a slump on that last one and didn't get received well, but I feel good about this. And yeah, I don't know. I love it. I love it so much. This was a first watch for you though, right?
First watch for me. I'm doing like on my Letterboxd, I'm doing a live like Mission Impossible rankings. I'm also going to put out some TikTok videos. So if you want like my extra short version of like what I think of the movies, you can check that out. But this is so far number one for me for Mission Impossible rankings. Like this is done so well, pulls out all the stops, keeps us guessing until the very end. Love, love, love the introduction that we get. We're already in the thick of it. We're in the heat of it and shit is off the hinges. How did he even get there? And then we started a house party and you're like, I need to know how we did this. And then when you finally get there, you realize how justified that scene is and like how much colder that scene plays now that you have the background on everybody and Philip Seymour Hoffman's character and just like the interworkings of the relationships. I thought that this movie really employed some really cool tech, which I thought was really fun. Like there's a moment he scales up the wall and then in order to like block the CCTV, he like takes a picture like in front of it and then like hangs it in front. And like, I just thought it was genius. I thought it was really neat. And like things like that, I think really turn the level up on a movie like this when they just do really cool stuff. So let's do our true cinema because we're going to kind of like, I know we're going to talk about 6 particular scenes, but I'm sure we'll cover a lot as we go through that. Why don't you kick us off this week?
Well, I'm going to open this up with the opening of the movie because there's just no way we can't talk about that. Like
we've put an explosive charge in your head.
It's
just like first line.
Yeah.
It's lights out, full investment.
It is. Yeah. It is so crazy. We meet Philip Seymour Hoffman and just like his evil, bad guy. At this point, we don't know who the woman is that he has, but we know Ethan has a very close connection to her because we've never really seen him respond like this before where, he's like, okay, I'm going to count to 10 and I'm going to shoot her. And the first couple is just like, all right, I'll help you, whatever. Then, it gets to 3 and he just like starts to like trying to rip out of the shackles, so to speak. And then get him shooting her in the leg. Like, you think I won't do it? Like, it's just, dude, it's crazy. I don't want to sit here and do my Philip Seymour Hoffman, but like, I love the opening scene so much. Like, it might be my favorite part of the whole movie. And I just like that we start kind of in media res, like no explanation. Ethan's tied up. And it's like, wait, what? Like, how does this, he can't be caught. Like this is Ethan Hunt. This is the protagonist,
And like what you mentioned about doing some callbacks, like this is so smart because when he does go to save Kerry Russell's character, we see what happens when the explosive gets put in your head. Like she starts to lose her mind and asks Ethan to stop the sound, take it out. And we, very actively see him try to kill her and then revive her. That's the plan. That's the only way to kind of short circuit this explosive in your head. This scene totally reminded me of Ambulance because in Ambulance, they operate on somebody when they're just fucking flying down the LA waterway and just trying to save someone's life in an ambulance. It's super unhinged, but it's incredible. I love that. I love that idea that they use things multiple times and it has a really, really good payoff. The first one for me is literally any threat from Davian. I just think from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Opening line, you mentioned the way he says, like, I'll kill her and she'll scream your name in front of you. And like, it's his nonchalant, like, just doesn't give a shit. Like the way he says it, where he's just like, you have a wife or a girlfriend because I'll find them and I'll kill them. And it's just like, that's the most
while he's tied up.
So crazy. Yeah, while he is being like dipped out of a plane. And then he comes back in from the plane and he's like, all right, Ethan. And you're just like, God fucking damn it, Luther. You shouldn't have said his name, dude.
Dude, it's so good.
So good. That's my first scene.
Honestly, that goes in perfect to my second scene. So it was the helicopter scene. It's when Ethan loses it. Like he just gets so emotional and drags Philip Seymour Hoffman. I need to look up his character's name and just keep calling by his real name. Owen Davian.
Owen Davian.
So yeah,
which Owen is not. Owen, weak villain name. If I'm going to be honest,
Davian's pretty good though.
Davian's good though. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Made up for it.
So he like drags him to the back of the plane, and then like we see him just kind of like kick open whatever that is, like not the trap door, but essentially a trap door below him.
Yeah, it's like an emergency exit door or something.
Yeah, and then like drop him on top of that, so his like body is kind of outside the plane, and then he's got like this like knife where he's like there's like four zip ties holding him there, and he cuts through 3 of them, and we just like see Philip Seymour Hoffman just drop further and further, and the thing is that like we know that we haven't seen the first scene of the movie yet again. So we know Philip Seymour Hoffman's going to live. We know Davian's going to make it through, but it's still, the tension is still there. It's like, holy shit. Like how though? Like how does this happen? How does Ethan go from like being in control of the situation to now like sitting across from who we now know as his wife, who's like about to get killed? Like what transpires here? But yeah, all the smart stuff, like, I'm not going to tell you my name, like none of that kind of stuff. And then all the emotions come out and Luther's like, Ethan, no, don't do it. It's not worth it, whatever. And that line delivery, just like you said, just at the end, like, you know, just saying his name, Ethan. And then like we cut, it's like, oh shit. Like that's all he needed to know. This is trouble.
Yeah. That's all I needed to know. And like, it's not on my list. It might be on your list. So I'll save it, but I will remember to talk about this if it doesn't get talked about. There's another scene very kind of similar. Second on my list is kind of the 2 scenes, I guess, kind of put together, but I'm like choosing the midpoint. So we get the point where they're meeting Davian at this kind of like at the Vatican, right? Mm-hmm. And at this thing, the briefcase with the rabbit's foot, and they're going in full Mission Impossible style. They make a mask on the spot, which I thought was a sick evolution and progression of the iconic mask, right? That's so smart that they're doing it on the spot. But when the moment that I'm choosing is that very particular transition from the Philip Seymour Hoffman mask to his face in real time. Like, it is almost seamless. I was shocked the first time I saw it, where it just didn't look like it just didn't look like a cut to me. It didn't look like any, massive, noticeable like movie magic. It just turns from a very noticeable mask that looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman to his face. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that's maybe the sickest thing I've ever seen in Mission Impossible yet. A live transition of how the mask works. That was tight. I just, incredible scene.
Honestly, it's like you're looking at my notes because it wasn't one of my scenes, but I wanted to talk about it. I have on here. I love how he subverts expectations when putting on the mask. Yes. Because we are doing like a panning shot and Luther's in front of us, in between Ethan and the camera. And other movies, like that's when they would make that swap. He's like, we'll use Luther's
that's what
body.
Shocked me so much. That wasn't the swap.
Yeah, it's like, the mask is still there. And then we just watch it all happen in real time. It's like, that's so smart, because people who love movies thought like, all right, that's when they're going to do the swap, whatever. And it's like, oh wait, they didn't do it. And like now we're just watching. It's like, this is even more impressive than I could have ever expected. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is also that. I mean, it's something I wanted to talk about. But my favorite scene is like my third scene is shortly after that. And it's when they're in the bathroom. Yeah. And it's when he has the mask on, but he doesn't have the voice yet, and he's like, read this,
like coughing,
yeah, exactly. And the guy's coming over. He's like, are you all right, boss? And he like gives him this whole like, stop, like stay back there.
The two fingers is really good. Right? It's so really good.
I love it so much, because it's such a Tom Cruise mannerism being done by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, it's like a don't, like, again, kind of goes back to the face.
And it's really abrupt, right? It's very energetic.
Yeah. So I love that whole scene. Even just like the beginning of it, when Davian like, leans down to get the water, and then we see Tom Cruise like as Davian behind him. And then he like looks up. He's like, oh, there are just 2 of them right there. Like, that's gotta be so fucking trippy to see that, But that whole scene, and then like, not being able to get him out in time. And so they're just like behind the door holding him up, and just all that kind of stuff. And then the voice transponder thing like finally works. And then he can be like, I'm fine. I told you, like, get out of here. It's like, so good. It's such a solid scene.
So good. Again, like I mentioned last week, the voice transponder gets used really, really innovatively in this movie too, where he copies Lawrence Fishburne's voice, and he's like escaping from IMF, and he uses that on the radio, which I thought was really neat. little picky nit of like, how did you get this to work so quickly when you needed it? But maybe he already had it preloaded or something. Who knows? Okay, my third pick here, and I am absolutely mesmerized. We're 20 minutes in this. We have 4 minutes left. We haven't talked about fucking Shanghai. He's jumping from skyscraper to skyscraper. Like, that is the plan. He has to go in and steal the rabbit's foot, and he has an entire scene of him losing it, like, in the road, and he has to chase it, which is so crazy. So to lead that off, I am choosing him doing the math on the jump between the buildings. When he's drawing on the window and he outlines the buildings and we get the shot from outside looking in, we can see him making equations, doing math and building out all of the mechanics of how that fulcrum is going to work and how he will swing to the next building and all of the mechanics behind it, where it was just like, that is so slick. That is, you're obviously you're a genius. Like, you're not just a crazy daredevil who works at IMF. You're super duper smart because you got to figure out how to pull this stuff off. Yeah. And that was so cool. Seeing that in action, seeing him make that plan, was really sick. I have one honorable mention real fast. And that is a kind of a funny moment with the car when we're escaping from the Vatican. And they're coming up from the tunnel, and two of them are already inside like the Lamborghini, and they're like, what's up? Nothing. What's up with you? Nothing. And it was so good. Like, they're just fucking escaping the Vatican, and they have the guy with them, and they're just like, nah, it's chill.
It's so good. I love that. To go back to your previous scene, I love too that it's like, what does Luke just say? Batters up. And it's like, all right, cool. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that was
and then
tight.
Suddenly, like, we just started seeing baseballs just like flying in the air. It's like, oh shit, it's so cool. Like, it's just you would never expect that. And that's what they're using. Yeah. Although it did make me think about all the poor people on the ground in Shanghai. These like
just baseballs dropping from the sky.
Yeah. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
Magnolia style. It's just baseballs instead of frogs.
That's what it is. Yeah, those are great scenes.
I have one question for you before we start the wrap here, so we don't go over. Mr. Pavel Sabakta. Is that like the greatest alias name for a guy on the run or what? Like, that outfit, clutch, to be honest with you. Very good.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty solid look. There's quite a few in this one. Like, I don't know. There's some great looks in here. I love how he swaps between, when they're stop traffic, and he looks like the Italian construction dude or whatever, and then just
they
like
just start shouting
out,
in
like,
Italian. But that's what makes that scene so cool, is that we go from like the lab and them saying like, I'm gonna need 30 seconds and I'm gonna need a truck, and then bam, we're there in Spain shouting at each other and blocking traffic. Like, so cool.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Incredible. Okay, any last, like, very, very last things you want to say? Mission Impossible 3 fucking rules, dude.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it so much.
I love it so much. Okay, would this fit in the A24 catalog? No, I think it's far too deep or deep, dark, sadistic, and much too action oriented in the storyline.
I'm going to say yes. I think it could. I think the storyline is there. I do like the deep and dark. Like, we have plenty of that in A24. The action is the only questionable part, but I think they could like make it work by letting JJ just be JJ,
Yeah. Let him cook. Okay, next week on the Patreon pod, episode 4, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. We're moving away from the numbers. We're going to the subtitles. 24 minutes. Can we stick to it? We will see.
We will see. Who knows? That is, spoiler alert, my favorite of the whole movie. So I'm prepared to have some sort of punishment. Let us know your thoughts on Mission Impossible 3. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. Also find us on YouTube. Thanks so much for supporting us. I'm Ben Lawhorn.
And I'm Ethan Simi. It's not mission difficult. It's mission impossible.
We did it.
We did it. We had 1 second to spare. Wow. The most time in the bank we've ever had.
I like that. Yeah, that was good. Oh, man, that's sweet.
Wow.